Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach and I am doing a question and answer video. Now I haven't done this for quite some time and I thought that we'd just take a little bit of time out of our busy schedules and I'll answer some of your guys' questions. So I recently put up a video asking for your questions and so that's what we're going to go through here. We're just going to go oldest to newest. We got quite a few to go through here, so let's get right into it. First is from the Sock Monkey. David, how are you? If you could buy one car, cost not a factor, what would I buy? Easy answer, BMW M2 Competition. By far, one of the best cars I've ever driven. One of my favorite cars. I know it's not the fastest, it's not the most expensive, blah, 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 but I love the feeling of it. I love the size of it, and just overall, really fun to drive. So I'd buy a BMW M2 Competition. Next is from XJTCGCT. His name is a Among Us code. Do you enjoy what you do, and do you make a good living at what you do? First of all, yes, I really truly love what I do. Just with the car reviews and stuff, it definitely has its positives and its negatives. There's no getting around that. It's super fun, but also I don't have a boss, which is great, but also I have to make my own schedule. I could take a week off, but then I'm only hurting myself and things like that. So it's definitely good and bad, but I really do enjoy cars. I love driving cars. Cars are my favorite thing in the world, and so yes, I do enjoy it. And luckily, recently I've been making a decent amount of money doing it. And hopefully that's only going up and up. So you guys really dictate how much money I make based off of views. Next is from Henry. It says, is a Kia Soul 2013 any good? I don't understand why Kia Souls get so much hate online as they do. I've driven a bunch of different Kia Souls. We had a Kia Soul when I was out in Los Angeles and Las Vegas. Someone very close to me owns a Kia Soul, so I've driven that a bunch of times. I've reviewed the new turbo one. I really like the Kia Souls. I think they're great. You can find them in manual, these older generation ones like the 2013 that you're asking about, Henry. You can find in manual, so if that's something that you wanted, you can definitely seek that out as well. So yeah, I do think the Kia Soul is a good car. Next is from Vincent. It says, why do you love Mazda so much? I was actually talking to my friend about this recently. Why do I like Mazda so much? I think what it boils down to is there's a couple things. First of all, I loved the RX7 when I got it, and I fell in love with that. I've had 3 RX7s, a Miata, and a Mazda 3. And I've loved driving all of them. Nothing really feels like a Mazda in this sort of segment. All of the Mazda 3 competitors they're real slush, like not fun to drive cars. My Mazda 3 is genuinely fun to drive. I took it on some twisty back roads when I went out to Pennsylvania, and it would have been cool to have a Miata on those roads, but honestly, I didn't miss it all that much, if that makes sense. I love the way they drive, and I also sort of like a little bit of an underdog sort of company. Toyota and Honda rule the game when it comes to economy cars, when it comes to big companies like that. Honda and Toyota, when it comes to Japanese companies, are the king. I mean, they're the top dogs. So I sort of like this Mazda underdog. You know, they don't have many sub brands. You know, they were owned by Ford for a while, but now they're on their own. I sort of like that. I don't know why, but next up is from Austin. This is a really good question. Were you camera shy when you started reviewing cars, and how long did it take you to get used to the camera? I don't think I was really camera shy, because before I started this YouTube channel, I had an older YouTube channel. I had been on camera a lot, not only on my own personal YouTube channel, but I've mentioned it before. When I was a kid in 8th grade, I was on David Letterman on TV. I had been on a couple other local, TV interview things. So yes and no. Like I was a little bit camera shy. It was more just weird talking to a camera while driving a car. That was a little interesting to get used to. But besides that, it didn't take me too long to get used to it. However, I would still say, if people are around, talking to a camera is very weird. I don't do a whole lot of talking to the camera vlog stuff. I can't walk through public talking to a camera. I can't do it. And I'll cut to a clip here, or I'll just show it. I was filming a video with our good friend Alex, and I was trying to do something in front of the camera, and someone was just walking their dog across the street, not even on our driveway. And I felt so awkward. I just put the camera down. So I still get camera shy and stuff like that. But if you're trying to work on that, what I try to do is I just try to imagine the camera as just a friend, as someone I'm just talking to casually. If you have a conversation with me, it's going to be pretty similar to this is, except you would actually get to talk and it's not me the whole time. But besides that, that's what I try to think of in terms of like stage fright or anything like that. This one is from Mustang 51. Would you consider ever having a non-rotary project car, not including the Miata? Yeah, of course. I love my RX-7 and right now it's my current project car. However, I think definitely down the road, I could see myself getting a non-rotary project car. I think I would mostly do rotaries just because they're kind of unique and different. That's sort of what my channel has been geared towards recently. But I could definitely see myself getting like older Mazdas, like a GLC wagon from the 80s would be super cool. Or a Ford Probe, or even non-Mazda stuff. I would love to pick up an S2000 one day. I'd love to pick up an old Volkswagen diesel or just even a Volkswagen bus. Karmann Ghia, an old Bug. I really need to drive an old Bug. I haven't driven one. I've driven the Karmann Ghia and the bus. I need to make that trio. Hopefully I can find one in orange too to match the other two. But I would love to get something air-cooled, and I've recently fallen in love with 964 Porsche 911s. I know that they're way out of budget right now, but hopefully maybe in 10 years they'll start to come back down. And I'd love to build something like that. Something air-cooled would definitely be top of my list. The next one is from the Lincoln Town Car Man himself. What do your parents think of your YouTube career? I think they think positive. I've never really had a conversation with them about it. Like, what do they think? But I think they think, they've supported me. They let me live here still. And they've always been super supportive of everything I've done. And I share accomplishments with them and stuff. And they've always, they seem proud of me. So that's always been good. But it's just pretty much like any other job. I always come home and like sometimes I have bad days, just like any normal job, just like the car wash I used to work at. So like I think to them it's just more of it's just a job. Next one is from Isaac. Do you think the RX-8 deserves the reputation it has? Would you consider buying one as a project or a daily? Yes and no. I don't think the RX-8 deserves as much hate as it gets. I think it's a lot of owner issue. People buy an RX-8 because it came out at the same time as the 350Z, as the WRX, as the S2000 and other sports cars like this that are different than a rotary. People don't want to put the time and effort into a rotary. So at the first sign of braking or mistreatment, they're out. They're done. They're like, it's too much. They don't want to get into it. And so from that standpoint, I think the RX-8 gets a lot of hate because of the way it came up. However, I do think working on a Renesas motor is a lot more annoying than working on a regular traditional 13B. The reason for that is because the Renesas moved the exhaust ports from the housings onto the irons, which means they're a lot smaller and a lot more restrictive, and you can't really port them as well as you can port other exhaust ports from other engines. Also, the apex seals are weird. I've assembled a couple of them, and I've had friends assemble lots more, and they are just a headache and a half. I don't know why, but they just always seem to be extra. So I sort of get that. I would consider picking one up as a project. The project being an REW swap from an FD RX-7. Get the I'd probably switch it to single turbo, but I'd get the REW motor into it. I would consider picking one up. I would have considered picking one up as a daily. I would have, if I didn't pick up my Mazda 3, I would have, still down the road, I would be interested in getting just like a cheap automatic RX-8 and dailying it for like 2 months and then putting it away. Maybe I'd do that one day. I'd consider, if I need storage space before I consider that, but I would do a project RX-8. The RX-8 chassis is really, really good. The handling, the geometry, everything in that sort of respect is great. It's just the Renesas I don't like. Next one is from Sean. Favorite car culture anime? So, this might upset some people. I've only ever seen Initial D. I've watched Initial D through a couple of times, but I've only ever seen that. I really want to get into Wangan Midnight because they have a Porsche 964 in it. And I'd like to get into that. I can't sit and watch TV. Like you can't see it, but out of frame here, this is where my Xbox is, and then right in front of me here, what's creating this light is my computer. And so when I'm editing, I'll have something up on Netflix or YouTube or a podcast or whatever, but I don't really like fully pay attention. So like anytime I put something on, I'm sitting at my desk, so it's like, oh, okay, I'll just work. You know what I mean? I don't really sit and watch anything, but I would like to watch Wine Guide Midnight. I'd like to get into that. Next one is from Vaughn the Gemini. What is a good starter car? Has to be good in snow, less than 3K, reliable and automatic. I mean, maybe it's just because right now I'm editing a Volkswagen diesel video right now, but like a diesel Jetta wagon, a Jetta TDI, they're great. Really fantastic cars. They would be pretty good in snow. They are front wheel drive, they're not all wheel. They're automatic. I don't know if you can find one for less than 3K though. Less than 3K, reliable and automatic, you're starting to get, honestly, a lot of Honda Civics are good. If you can find a first gen Subaru Forester that's not rusted out, I would highly recommend one of those because they're pretty fun to drive. A lot of aftermarket support for them. You could probably find them. I mean, I was finding them for $1,800 all day, but they were super rusty. You can find them definitely automatic and things like that. So I would say, honestly, best bet I would say would probably be a first-gen Subaru Forester. I really like driving them, and they're great cars. Next up is from Ben. He says, what are your thoughts on turbo NAs, and how much should one expect to spend doing one right? I love turbo NAs. I've driven 1, 2, but hopefully that'll change this year. Shout out Track Dog Racing. I might head down to Dallas again and check out some more turbo Miatas. But how much should I expect to spend? I mean, here's the thing. If you want to do it correctly, there really is no ceiling for how much you can spend on a turbo Miata. However, I would say at minimum, if you want to do everything correctly, putting $5,000 into it, that's like turbo kit, intercooler. You're gonna want some supporting mods. You're probably gonna want to put a stronger trans into it, whether that be a 6-speed or something else, beefed up trans. Especially if the car has like 200,000 miles on it, you're definitely gonna want to do some trans work. You're definitely gonna want to do coilovers and things like that, just because when you're putting that much power down, you don't want to start, you know, sort of like you floor it and then you fly back because you're on stock buggy suspension. So things like that. I would say probably $5,000 is a healthy number to get in your mind. Just know that you'll probably go over that, but at least you'll be within that ballpark. And yes, I know people turbo them for like $1,100, but oof. Next one is from Yappy Boy. When is the next Judging Viewers cars going to be? Sorry if this has already been answered. It has not been answered. I have not done this in a while. That I started judging people's cars at the beginning of COVID as just a way to like stay connected with people. And of course I was not filming reviews, so I was sort of stuck in the house. But I'm definitely down to do it again. Those emails have gotten pushed so far down my inbox, I don't know if they still exist. So I will announce if I'm doing more. I will announce it and you'll have to resubmit your car, but that's something I could totally do. And I'll definitely think about that. Next up is from Eric. You guys know him as Dewey. I've done 2 podcasts with him. Big Gridlife guy. Going to make it to some Gridlife events this year, maybe a road trip. Yes, I would love to, I definitely want to monitor the whole COVID situation and make sure either guidelines are being met or if I can get vaccinated, something like that. I want to do it safely, but I am dying to get back out to Gridlife events properly this year. So yes, I will be doing that, hopefully making it to as many as I can. But again, we'll see just with restrictions and things like that. This one is from Logan the Dude. Have you ever heard of the Toyota Cressidas? They're pretty dope and luxurious. Yes, I've heard of them. I've had a couple friends that have owned them, but I've never actually reviewed one. I feel like I've done like circles around Toyota Cressidas where like I've reviewed like Toyota Celsiors and I've done some Lexus products and like things like that. And that's where the Toyota Cressida kind of sits. That's like, you know, the lunch table the Cressida sits at. But I actually haven't filmed a proper Cressida, which I'd like to. I think they are super luxurious, and for the American market, that was kind of the closest we got to like a JDM sedan like that. Next one is from Ebony Hudson. How/where do you find the cars you review here? So this, I think there's a couple of other questions like this in here, but where do I find cars? it's a whole mix of things. It started off with me asking friends, hey, can I borrow your car for an hour? It's for my YouTube channel. And, you know, friends, family, things like that. Then I started putting it out there. If you see at the beginning of my videos, I always have an email. And a lot of cars that I've reviewed have actually either been through email or through Instagram or things like that. People actually messaging me and reaching out, which is by far one of the, not only the coolest feelings, but just super, super awesome. The other thing is dealerships, and I'll talk about dealerships a little bit later on. But I actually went out about 2 years ago to a couple of dealerships, and that's where I get a majority of my vehicles now, which we will talk about a little bit later on because I know there's a question about that. But it was a bunch of different sources, friends, family, viewers like you, and dealerships. This one is from Daniel Atkins. Do you ever get or have been to the point of content fatigue, or where to start sometimes? All the time. All the time. I think this is going to be my biggest hurdle coming up, is content fatigue, because sometimes I feel like I'm stuck in a rut, and sometimes I feel like the channel's in a little bit of a rut just because I keep putting out reviews, and you know, it's the same format. It's, you know, it's not vastly different between cars. And I definitely do feel that fatigue sometimes, and so it's tricky. I'm even struggling to formulate words about it, but it definitely happens, and I definitely understand that it's just sort of a part of content creation. Definitely where to start is hard too. I have a bunch of ideas. It's making those ideas come to life at the very beginning. That's the hardest part. I have like little skit videos that I've been working on for years and years and years that I just don't know what I should, like, I don't know how to get into filming it. So I think the biggest thing with fatigue is just, I'm more worried about viewer fatigue. I don't want this channel to just be like, oh, he posted another review. So things like that. But I definitely do struggle with that. And I think that will be my biggest struggle moving forward, but I've always found ways around it. I've always found ways around it. And hopefully it continues to be that way. Next one is from Ryan. It says, me and my friends have taken his motor out of his 1988 RX-7. It needs a rebuild. When you rebuilt yours or got it rebuilt, how much did it relatively cost? How difficult was it? So there's a bunch of different ways you can do this. You can absolutely rebuild the motor yourself, and I would say at that point, you're looking at probably about $2,000. $2,000 for a rebuild yourself, because rebuild kits are about $1,200, $1,500 with shipping and parts. And the thing about it, everyone always says, oh, but I don't want to do a complete engine overhaul. I just want to change out the apex seals and slap it back together, which is possible, but not smart. While you're in there, you should do a bunch of other gaskets and seals that are going to fail anyway. You have the engine apart, you might as well. So the thing with rotaries is that you can't just sort of pop the head off of and, you know, adjust the valves or whatever and slap it back together. It's kind of an all or nothing rebuild. So I would say if you're doing it yourself, $2,000 to $2,500. If you're getting a shop to do it, I would say look upwards of $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. I think $5,000 is a pretty safe number to start considering, at least here in the US. This one is from wtcopper.exe, and it says, would you consider a newer Nissan Armada a good car? I love your videos, by the way. Well, thank you. I have not driven an Armada, which I wish I could, but I think my contact at the Nissan dealer that I've been filming with, I think he might be switching jobs. So I'm not sure if I'm going to continue with some Nissan reviews. I'd love to reach out to other Nissan dealers. But I drove the Nissan Titan with the same motor, and I liked it. I think it was a little bit underpowered, but the thing is just so heavy. And I can't imagine, I assume the Armada's even heavier. But I know a couple people that have had Armadas. They've always loved them. It's such a large vehicle that it's really a commitment. It's just like a Tahoe. Like you're buying part of an apartment. Next one is from Sebs. They said, what is your opinion on the ridiculous prices of JDM cars recently? Seems like it's getting hard for young enthusiasts to get into the scene, since the only answers are really Civic and Miata, which have both gone up in price. I want to make a video sort of breaking down why these JDM cars are going up in price, and it's just because they're hot right now. They're going to get more expensive. I think within the next decade, they're going to get even more expensive. And then I think they're going to start tapering off in probably about 15 years. I think we have another 10 years of prices going up. That's my estimate, at least for 90s stuff. I mean, obviously I wish it wasn't that way, but I understand it. They're rare, you know, they're not making anymore, and they're getting to be 30 years old, so the people that grew up with them, they now have money to buy them. But I wouldn't say that Civic and Miata is really the only answers. However, 90s Japanese stuff is starting to go up. I think we're really going to see sort of a lot more like Sentra SCRs, like Nissan Sentra SCR, or those weirder sort of cars. I think the Civic EM2 is going to sort of come up a little bit. Definitely the EP3 SI Civics, the hatches with the weird shifters on the dash. I think those are going to start going up in price, and those are sort of affordable right now. I think those would definitely start to go up. Next one is from Custom Diecast by Dim. He says, when will you show your full collection of models? I'm really interested in your 1/18th and 1/43rd scale models. Cheers. So actually up on my shelf, you can see right here, that's a Mazda water bottle. I think that is, I mean, I have a bunch of diecast and stuff up on my shelf. I don't know, maybe once I get my sort of room situated and things like that, I'd like to do a full collection update. I haven't really picked up any newer ones. Odds are, I think all my diecasts I've made a video about, but I'm still collecting, and that's actually where I display them. So that's a sign. You can't read it, it's all blown out on camera. That's a sign that says shooting cars that my girlfriend made me that I can change the color of. Where is it? There it is. I just usually keep it on like a bluish purple. Okay, now it's not working. There it is. But that's where I usually display all my stuff. This one's from Quan, and they ask, what car are you reviewing next? Actually, this is a rarity because it is snowing so hard outside. I don't actually have any recording set up for car reviews. However, let me take a look here. What is unreleased? This is coming out, this video is February 8th. So this week I have the Nissan Quest comes out right after this video. Then the Geo Prism, super excited about the Geo Prism, just because it's a weird car. And then that Volkswagen diesel wagon, super excited about. Which, by the way, this is, I don't know if you can see this. This is how I keep track of everything. So there's even like grease stains on it from, I think that was ramen noodles or something. But this is how high tech I am for my upload schedule. But yeah, so I don't know what I'm filming next. Hopefully by the time this comes out, I will have filmed. I know up on my schedule soon, we just have to lock down a date with all this snow going on outside, is a hybrid Ford F-150, which will be huge. Really excited for that. So this one is from Joey. This is our final question of this video. However, keep a lookout on the channel. I will post another 1-minute video sometime saying, ask me questions, and then I'll gather questions through there. So just keep an eye out on the channel. But this one's from Joey. It says, what was the process of getting the dealerships to let you test drive the cars? So like I mentioned earlier with Ebony's question of how do I find cars? So 2 years ago, I printed out a bunch of essentially resumes saying what it is I did, what I would need from the dealership. And really all it said was, hey, my name's Zach. This is my YouTube channel. At the time I had like 10,000 subscribers. I was like, hey, I have 10,000 subscribers. I get like 100,000 views a month, which it's now, I think we topped 400,000 views a month, which is crazy. Anyway, I literally just made a piece of paper and said, this is what I do. All I need from you is a car for an hour. Now it takes about an hour and a half to film each car, but I need a car for an hour. And in return, I would advertise for your company, for your dealership at the beginning and at the end of the video. So basically I framed it as, this is free advertising that costs you nothing except for me borrowing a car. They don't pay me anything. A lot of people think like, oh, like Toyota's paying you to say this. Or I've driven a lot of Honda products that I've really, really liked, like the Honda Odyssey. And people are like, oh, you know, Honda's paying you for this. No, I've never received payment from any dealership, any brand, or anything like that for reviews. So basically I just framed it as that. I said, hey, this is free marketing. This is free advertising. I just need a car for an hour. And so I've started to build relationships with the people at these dealerships. I go to the same people at the dealership every time. I'm not asking random salesmen or anything like that. It's normally the multimedia people that I've talked to, but I've talked to just store managers, things like that. And, I build these relationships with people. It's very good to be personable. You have to look at it as they are doing you a favor. They are helping you out. You can't go in and act like you run the dealership and be like, give me one of those in red. You have to say, you have to sort of work up to that stuff. And maybe you could say, hey, it would be great if you guys had some in red. What I always say is because, red pops in thumbnails. So I would like something like that. Or, you can ask politely for, hey, do you have like this sort of trim level? People tend to look for this sort of stuff. So just always remember that they're doing you a favor. And so just be as nice as you can. I mean, obviously, but I did give a whole written thing, and I was like, I can provide you more copies if you want to give this to the store manager, the branch manager, whatever higher up. If you need to set up a meeting, let's set up a meeting. Let's get the whole board of directors in here. Let me explain what I do. I want total transparency throughout the whole dealership. And I think that's really helped, because I'm not just walking in and saying, hey, I need a car. It's like, let's work together, let's figure this out, sort of together. So that's how I got dealerships to let me drive their cars. So I hope that answers that question. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you guys so much for your questions. I posted the video, and I think I got all of these questions within like 20 minutes, which was really, really cool to see. I just kept refreshing the page, and it was just more and more and more and more and more, which is absolutely fantastic. It means the world to me. Hopefully I can do more videos like this. I sort of like the ambiance here and the lighting and everything up here. I'm a little bit more professional, a little bit more techy, things like that. So if you guys have any ideas for me to do, any video ideas, please let me know in the comment section down below. And like I said, next time I do a comments video answering your questions, it'll be posted on my YouTube channel. So keep that notification on so you will be notified when a video goes up and you can ask your question. But I hope you guys enjoy the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.